Welcome to this week's edition of Outdoors Online, a weekly webcast produced by the North Dakota Game and Fish Department. I'm your host, Mike Anderson. My guest this week is Fisheries Division Chief Greg Power. Greg, winter's come early this year. Ice is forming on a lot of lakes around the state. How is ice fishing going to be?
Oh, it's very early. We came off the wettest September ever, and then the cold air started actually in September, October, to the point where we've had, this may be the earliest ice up in recent memory for sure that we've had in our lakes. We got walk-on ice on all but the big waters throughout the state as of early November. They were ice fishing in late October in some of these waters. So yes, it's an exceptional year, exceptional fall.
On a normal year of fishing, what percentage typically is ice fishing?
Right, and it's weather dependent. It's two things. Fish population's got to be there, and then it's weather when it comes to ice fishing. On an open winter where you don't have a lot of snow and access is good onto the lakes, we'll have about 25% of our entire annual fishing effort is ice fishing. So it's fairly remarkable. But then again, this is North Dakota, and we have 5 months of ice out there. So on a bad winter when the access is poor, and we've had a few of those in the last decade, it's as little as 5%. So again, it's moving forward this upcoming winter, it's anybody's guess what the crystal ball says as far as access, but it can be substantial.
Okay, we pretty much have high water statewide. Any concerns, any benefits?
Yeah, it's boy, our landscape has really changed in the last year. From a year ago where we're at to today, it's really night and day difference. Our waters throughout most of the state are probably at or very near record high elevations. There's no real concern. I mean, the water is good for fish. It's going to be the access issue again as winter moves along. Getting onto lakes if the cattails catch the snow, because with the lakes being a little bit higher, the access on the lakes is in areas where probably it's flooded cattails and they can catch the snow. And who knows? We'll have to see. But it's no real problems right now, and it bodes well for the future as far as the water part of it.
And as we all know, ice is never 100% safe.
Ice is never safe in North Dakota, even though you may have 3 feet and come February, March, there's places where it might be, you got to be careful. And then, we should also bring out that this is North Dakota, and we have some extremes in our own weather within the state. So ice conditions, again, up in Devil's Lake, for example, you have drive-on ice come winter, and it's generally fine. You stay away from the pressure ridges, you're in good shape. You go to the extreme southwest part of the state, Bowman-Haley, for example, and there are winters where there is no drive-on ice. You can only access it by foot because ice never gets that thick, the ice pack. So, be careful. Always be careful when it comes to ice.
Okay, on a statewide level, Greg, how are fish populations going into the winter?
Oh, we're in good shape. Today's fish populations are based on conditions a year, 2 years, 3 years ago. So, and during that period, we were drying out. We were drying out pretty substantially in portions of the state. So our perch populations out there, a lot of people like to ice fish for perch. They're nothing where they were, let's say, 10 years ago. We still probably have a handful of lakes that have, really quality perch fishing opportunities, but there's not that many. What we've seen in the shift in the last 10 years for sure is walleye fishing, and we actually will have a few more probably very good walleye fishing lakes this winter versus last. So walleye is, I think, where the emphasis will be. And the pike numbers are still fairly strong. They're probably down from, again, 5 or 10 years ago, but there's ample pike opportunity out there. So all things considered, the fish are there.
Okay. How about winter kill potential?
At this point, in November, we're in good shape, especially with all that new water. That helped a lot. If we hadn't had this new water, lakes had frozen up and we had a normal winter, we probably could have lost another 30, 40 lakes. Right now, we don't anticipate that. The only downside is the early ice that we've had. The sooner the ice comes, then if we get snow on top of it, especially this time of the year, November, December, and January, where the day length is the shortest, meaning lack of photosynthesis. So what we don't need right now is a lot of snow in November. because the lakes aren't open, so it's dependent on light penetration. But well, let's talk again in April. But right now, we don't really have a lot of concern out there.
Okay, dark house spearfishing, the opening date changed last year.
Yeah, we had a proclamation change, so this is the second winter where the start of the dark house spearfishing season is whenever you feel the ice is safe enough to get out there. And I'm sure there are people out there doing it right now, which is, in the past, the law read the 1st of December, but it has changed to you can have at it in October, November if the ice conditions warrant. So we anticipate a fair amount of effort again this winter with dark house spearfishing. It's become fairly popular with some of our pike lakes, and have at it. It's a kind of a unique sport out there.
Okay, something we started a few years ago is a free ice fishing weekend for residents.
I believe this might be our third winter that we've allowed this. Similar in the summer, the first weekend in June, there's a free weekend for open water fishing for residents only. 3 years ago now, we started this same thing for ice fishing. So it's the weekend, generally the weekend in between Christmas and the New Year's. I believe it's the 28th and 29th of December this year, and free fishing for any resident in the state. So, and the idea is to get out there. That's a time of the year where family and friends are together for the holidays, and thinking is maybe somebody doesn't want to spend the $16-17 on a license, but they kind of want to experience fishing, and you got family or friends that take you out, so it's a good nexus there to get out there. And
so as long as Mother Nature allows, it should be
it should be a good time for people. Yes.
Thanks, Greg.
You bet.
In the next 2 weeks of Outdoors Online, I will travel around the state and visit with local fisheries biologists in their districts. We'll talk about water levels, how the ice is shaping up, fish populations, and more. For Fisheries Division Chief Greg Power and the rest of the staff here at the Game and Fish Department, thanks for joining us for this week's Outdoors Online. We'll see you again next week.